If you're only relying on abandoned cart emails to recover lost sales, then you're missing out on a ton of revenue. There's an entire group of visitors that never even make it to the cart, but they're still super high value and most brands totally ignore them. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down one of the most underused, misunderstood, and insanely profitable flows in email marketing, the site abandonment flow. I'll show you what it is, the exact emails you should include, and how to set it up on Klaviyo. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so before we begin, I think it's important to have a bit of a reality check. Now, brands are spending thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month on their traffic, and paid ads are getting more and more expensive every single year, and that's a trend that's not slowing down anytime soon. Yet, if you think about it, 95 to 98% of visitors to your e-commerce site will leave without buying anything. So unless you have an actual system to bring these users back to your website and get them to place an order, it's going to be a ton of lost revenue every single day. And that adds up over time. Now, this is kind of what your traffic looks like. So this is 100 users. And out of these 100 users, on average, about 3 of them will place an order. And that means 97 of those people will leave without placing a single order. Now, again, if we don't have a way of bringing these customers back to the website, we're just going to have to double down on spending even more on paid ads to get even more traffic to hopefully get people to place an order. But that is an incredibly inefficient system. Our goal should be to make the most out of every single user that comes to our website. And we need to have a system of bringing these people back to place an order. So this is what your customer journey looks like. So any person who places an order on your website typically will go through this journey. So first of all, they're going to go to your website. And next, they're going to go to a product page. So they're going to find the product that they like, and they're going to look at the product page. Once they're happy with the product and they know that's the one that they want, then they're going to add that product to their cart. And then they're going to click the checkout button and start the checkout. And then they're going to complete the checkout and place an order. Now, every single one of these steps are a critical part of the customer's journey, and they need to have a flow attached to them. So for example, if someone adds to cart and they leave the website without getting to the next step, then a cart abandonment flow should trigger. And likewise, just for the first step, if someone goes to our website, but then they leave without viewing a product or adding to cart or doing anything further than that, then the site abandonment flow should trigger. So what exactly is a site abandonment flow? So as I've kind of already explained, the sequence gets triggered after someone visits your website but leaves without viewing any products or adding anything to their cart, or of course placing an order. And this is going to be very different to the browse abandonment, because the browse abandonment flow gets triggered after someone actually views a product, goes to the product page, and then leaves without adding anything to their cart and of course placing an order. And then abandoned cart and abandoned checkout, of course, they're going to get triggered after someone actually abandons cart or abandons the checkout. So it's a very different flow, and the copy and the structure is going to be very different to the other flows. So now I'm going to show you guys an example of a site abandonment flow that we designed. And this is what it looks like. So at the top, it says, rediscover elegance, rediscover your sips. And down below, it says, we noticed that you took a peek. If you haven't dived into our world yet, now is a perfect time. So what we want to do is gently nudge them back to our website and give them some information about the brand. And right at the bottom, we've got a section where the customer can ask for support. So if they had any issues or any concerns, we can resolve them without losing the customer entirely. And then of course down below is going to be the footer. So as you can see, the email is pretty gentle. It's not super urgent. It's just going to be nurturing the customer. Now we have a basic understanding of what this flow does and who it's intended for. But let's dive a little deeper into who these site abandoners actually tend to be. Well, firstly, these are people that are already familiar with your brand. These are people that have already signed up to your list, and they've likely already gone through your welcome series. So they've gone to your website, and then for some reason they've left without getting any further. They didn't browse any products, didn't add to cart, didn't start checkout, didn't place an order. Now that might seem like cold traffic to you, but it's actually not cold at all. They are definitely not cold, because these are people that have been on your site before, but something brought them back to your website. So that means they definitely have purchase intent. We at this point just don't know exactly what they're shopping for because they didn't browse any product pages. So it's definitely a warm audience. It's not cold traffic, but of course it's not going to be as hot of an audience as an abandoned checkout, because that's right before the purchase decision. Now, what you'll find as soon as you set up the site abandonment flow is that it will start driving quite a lot of sales directly attributed to the flow. But that's not even the number one goal of this flow. The number one goal of this flow is if someone is up here in the customer journey, we just want to get them further down into the funnel. So then that will hopefully trigger subsequent flows, which gets them even further down the funnel, which eventually gets them to place an order. So the number one goal isn't to actually directly get attributed sales to this flow, but what you'll find is that it still drives a ton of sales. Okay, so what makes an elite site abandonment flow? Now, first of all, it's really important to be gentle. Site abandoners are curious, but they're not yet convinced. They're not yet ready to buy, so you don't want to hit them with countdown timers, 20% off discounts, or any aggressive sales language. You want to focus on building trust, showing value, answering unspoken questions, and making them feel seen and understood. And one of the most important elements in the site abandonment flow is focusing on storytelling. You want to explain to them why you guys exist, what you guys are all about. And this is a great example of another site abandonment flow that we designed for one of our clients. And this is what it looks like. So at the top, it says, still browsing, let's get comfy. So this is going to be a sleep pillow. So right at the top, we start with a headline that says, still browsing, let's get you comfy. And this is behavior specific copy. We've addressed that. We noticed that they were browsing the website, and here we say, we totally get it. It's a big decision, and here we are to just nurture them and educate them to show how we can help them. The next most important thing is we've got a CTA above the fold. So that means in the top 1500 pixels of the email, we want to have at least one CTA, because most people who browse on their phone, this is kind of the view that they get. And we want to have a CTA before they start scrolling, because a lot of people will just open an email and then they'll close it without even scrolling. So it's really important to have this above the fold, and then the email goes on. So here we've showcased the hero product. So this brand has just one hero product and then a lot of supporting products. So we've highlighted the key product that we think that they would be interested in, because this is what most customers buy. But if your brand sells a range of products in a range of collections, I highly recommend showcasing a few key collections, your most popular products or most popular collections within this email. Because again, if you sell multiple products on your store, then we don't know what they're interested in, because they haven't browsed the products. So we can't actually serve them the exact products. So again, if you sell multiple products on your store, we won't actually know what the customer is interested in. So that's why we want to just highlight a few options, so then they can click through the option that is most relevant to them, and then hopefully that will then trigger subsequent flows. So the next thing that we have is social proof. So social proof is incredibly important for the site abandonment flow. We want to highlight other people utilizing the product, so reviews go a very, very long way. And right at the bottom, we've got another CTA, which is going to be perfect for people who read the whole email and then they want to take action right at the end. So that's it. Now, the next thing that I recommend is setting up more than just one email within this flow. Elite site abandonment flows go beyond just a one email reminder. So the structure should look something more like this. So the first email that someone gets is going to be about 1 hour after they abandon the website, and we want to give them a soft nudge and focus on storytelling. So we want to give them a gentle nudge about the brand, showcase the brand's mission, maybe show some best-selling products or collections. No hard sell, don't give them a discount, just remind them about what makes your brand worth coming back to. And then email 2, you want to focus on social proof and your top products as well. You want to show off your reviews, any user-generated content that you have, or your most loved items. And you want to reaffirm credibility, and you want to remove buyer hesitation. So this is exactly what the flow looks like. So at the start, the trigger is going to be active on site. And then as mentioned, email 1 is going to be that soft nudge email. And then email 2 is going to be more of the social proof and top collections. So now I'm going to actually show you what these emails look like. So here's an example of a soft nudge plus storytelling. So this is for a coffee related brand. So same story, we've got the CTA above the fold, and we've just got a bit of education about what sets this brand apart. So, changing lives with every carb, training for a brighter future, and then another CTA below that section. And then we've got reviews right at the bottom. So very, very important to sprinkle out reviews throughout the email, but the focus of email 1 is purely going to be educational and nurturing the customer. And then email 2 is going to be more focused on your top performing products, and you're going to really double down on your social proof. So as you can see, here's another example. So left so soon, CTA right above the fold. And here we've got elements that build trust. So proven results, 98.6% of users see results within weeks, trusted by many, thousands of 5-star reviews. And then down below, we've got the key collections that the brand sells. So weight loss, build muscle, health and wellness, and performance. And of course, you can have CTAs for each of these. So then the user can click through the exact product that they're interested in. So then we know what they're interested in. So then we can serve subsequent flows. So that's pretty much it for the site abandonment flow. It's actually quite straightforward. You want to set up at least 2 emails, and now I'm going to show you guys how to set this up on Klaviyo. So first of all, for the timing of this flow, you want to send email 1 within 1 to 2 hours of the customer abandoning the website. So you want to do it while the intent is still fresh. Waiting too long is going to do a lot more harm than good. So 1 to 2 hours tends to be that sweet spot. And then for email 2, you want to trigger it exactly 24 hours after email 1. So for the triggers and filters, this is exactly what they are, but I'm going to show you guys on Klaviyo how to set this up properly. So I'm going to share my screen and walk you guys through setting up this flow live, and it's going to go through all of the triggers and all the filters. But yeah, just for the time delay, make sure it's sent between 1 to 2 hours. So this is how we create the site abandonment flow. Now there isn't actually a default template created by Klaviyo, so for this one we actually have to build it on our own. So click build on your own on the top right, and I'm going to call this site abandonment, and click create flow. Now the trigger for this flow is going to be if someone is active on site, so just click all triggers, metric, and the first one is active on site. Okay, so now we're going to add some filters. So just click profile filters on the bottom and click add profile filter, and then the first one is going to be what someone has or has not done, and it's going to be viewed product. So viewed product 0 times since starting this flow, and then we click and what someone has or has not done. It's going to be add to cart, added to cart, again 0 times since starting this flow. And then we click and again, what someone has or has not done. Checkout started 0 times since starting this flow, so same story. And then last one is going to be what someone has or has not done. Placed order 0 times since starting this flow. Cool. So this adds pretty much all of the filters which are going to filter out all of our other flows. So if you kind of recognize this one should actually trigger the post-purchase flow. Checkout started, that should be triggering the abandoned checkout flow. The add to cart, that should be triggering the add to cart flow. So these ones basically we're filtering out, making sure that it's not going to be conflicting with any of our other flows that we currently have set up. Now, the final thing that we're going to do is add a maximum amount of times that someone can receive this flow. So I'm going to do has not been in this flow in the last 30 days. So for a site abandonment flow, I think that's pretty reasonable. But if you want to kind of play around with it, so anywhere between 14 to 30, sometimes even higher than 30 is okay as well, because it's a pretty cool audience. You don't want to bombard them too much, but anywhere between 14 to 30 is a good place to be. So click save, and there we have it. So next thing is going to be to actually add the emails that you have as well. So we're going to click add a time delay. And then we're going to add, so let's just say this is 6 hours, whatever it may be, and then we're going to add an email. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for making it this far. I really do appreciate your time. I hope this video was valuable to you. If it was, please consider subscribing and liking this video. I make videos like this every single week, so you'll be the first one to find out when these videos drop. So yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.